Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Homage to the Blessed One, the Worthy One, the Supremely Enlightened One. Homage to the Blessed One, the Worthy One, the Supremely Enlightened One. Homage to the Blessed One, the Worthy One, the Supremely Enlightened One. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Let's do the loving kindness meditation. Because we have new friends joining to this for the very first time. To welcome our friends, let's cultivate loving kindness. You can sit down, relax way, and we are going to cultivate positive thoughts. First, you can listen to these words, and next you can think to yourself. To practice loving kindness, try to bring a sense of love to yourself. Try to let go of the pain, the negative thoughts you might carry. If there are any hurtful memories, simply let them go. If there are any regrets or worries that you might carry, try to let them go. Forgive yourself to the person you are. Accept yourself just the way you are. Stay in this present moment. And let us cultivate unconditional love to our own lives. Listen and think to yourself this way. May I be free from anger. May I be free from ill will. May I be free from jealousy. May I be free from mental suffering. May I be free from physical suffering. May I live in peace. May I live happily. As I wish for myself, may everyone in this place be free from anger, be free from ill will, be free from jealousy, be free from mental suffering, be free from physical suffering. May they live in peace. May they live happily. As I wish for myself, may everyone in this city be free from anger, be free from ill will, be free from jealousy, be free from mental suffering, be free from physical suffering. May they live in peace. May they live happily. As I wish for myself, may everyone in this province be free from anger, Be free from ill will. Be free from jealousy. Be free from mental suffering. Be free from physical suffering. May they live in peace. May they live happily. As I wish for myself, may everyone in this country be free from anger, be free from ill will, be free from jealousy, be free from mental suffering. Be free from physical suffering. May they live in peace. May they live happily. As I wish for myself, may everyone in this world be free from anger, be free from ill will, be free from jealousy, be free from mental suffering, be free from physical suffering. May they live in peace. May they live happily. As I wish for myself, may everyone be free from anger, be free from ill will, be free from jealousy, be free from mental suffering, be free from physical suffering. May they live in peace. May they live happily. May they live in peace. May they live happily. May they live happily. May they live happily. 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 Sadhu. 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 Right, friends. Now you can open your eyes. And now you can relax a little bit before we go to our discussion. Okay, friends. Last week we studied about the feelings, the insight part of the feelings, according to the Satipaṭṭhāna sutta. And then we found out that it is kind of difficult to understand. It's not only because that we are not having enough understanding, enough studies, but it can also because that we couldn't practice. We couldn't practice accordingly. That's why it being very difficult to understand. So, when we close our eyes, when we are going to observe our feelings, it becomes very hard and very difficult training because that we have a distracted mind. It can be because that our mind is mixed with the hindrances. Our mind is blocked by many distracted thoughts. It can be because of the sleepiness that we don't see it clearly. It can be because of the sensual desire. It can be because of the restlessness. So there can be many reasons, like mainly 5 reasons, the 5 hindrances that prevents the mindfulness, that brings us difficulty to observe the feelings just as it is. This is why maybe in a retreat day, we can easily we can easily observe the feelings because we are kind of like trying to control and we try to reduce those hindrances. And sometimes, especially in the retreat days, we normally do breathing meditation, we normally do loving kindness meditation. Because of these trainings, because of these meditations, that can bring us more easier approach to observe the feelings when they arise in us. But in a busy life, that can be very hard to get to know about the feelings when they are arising. According to the Satipaṭṭhāna Sutta, we went for a study that according to 2 different aspects. First, we studied there are feelings regarding the sense pleasures, and there are feelings regarding the spiritual life. And then we studied that basic 3 feelings, pleasant, unpleasant, neutral. Now, after observing these feelings according to the instruction, now it is instruction. Okay, why do we study these things? Is that because that we are that immediately observe the feeling? Is that the reason that we study? No. Like we can easily and fast way study the teachings, but that way don't expect that I will be succeed in my training. Okay, so it takes time. But why we need to study this is because these things will later help us. And also it won't lost you. Sometimes when meditators do the practices, they become lost in their meditation, in their mindfulness training. So then there might be like confusions. There might be difficulties on of understanding their own training. So because of this reason, we need to study these things. Okay, according to the suttas, Buddha says sometimes this study is like the Dhamma knowledge. The knowledge, which means that something that you collect through the Dhamma is like a weapon storage. Buddha says it is like the weapon storage. When the time's right, you need to fight with the defilements. You pull the weapons because you have a storage. What do you think? More the weapon storage? Can we fight easily? Yes, when we collect more understanding, more easy to fight in our meditations. Fighting in the meditation means trying to remove the negative things and to confirm the positive things in us. In this case, positive thing means the mindfulness, clarity, peace, and understanding. Now let's go to our sutta that we stopped last week, and let's see if we can go for some more studies. I think I was thinking about ending the feeling part today, so that we can go to the foundations of mindfulness on the mind, the next topic. Today, let's go and because we can't stay longer with the Satipatthana Sutta, only studying the feelings, because we spent already so long. Please know that these things will be more apparent to you when you meditate and when you go through the training. So what we lack is our striving, our effort, and our energy. Because if we had that, our inner power to meditate well, it will definitely reveal you about the teachings. Buddha says here, I'm going back to the same thing that we studied last week. Iti ajhatang va vedanasu vedananupassi viharati, which means that person, the meditator, meditate observing an aspect of feelings internally. This means whatever the feeling arises in you, you try your best to notice them, recognize them, and you try to observe them just as it is when the feelings arises. You do this by developing your mindfulness. So the feeling here seen as the foundation or a ground to develop mindfulness. Very similar to the breathing and the movements of the body and the elements of the body, Buddha says that you can even use the feelings to develop mindfulness. How do you do that? That is by your constant establishing of mindfulness over the feeling. We studied about this already. So this person is said to be that this person, when that person lives, and maybe in the day-to-day life also, if they have a more mindfulness, they would do this. And also in a retreat day or in a meditation, they can observe the feeling, and they can fully focus to the feeling when those feelings arises. By names, there are three feelings. It can be a pleasant feeling, it can be a unpleasant feeling, or it can be a neutral feeling. Um, so Buddha says here, that person lives by observing that internal feeling. That feeling arises inside. Oh, now I have a happy feeling. Oh, now I have a like unpleasant feeling. Now I have neither pleasant nor unpleasant, neutral feeling. So this person observes that when they arises over and over again. As we learned, now let's say if someone get a resistance, let's say if someone hear a unpleasant sound, then this person feels the unpleasant feeling. So this person try to observe that unpleasant feeling to know just as it is. Now, all the feelings that come to us said to be dependent on our senses and with our interactions with the outside. The context creates the feelings. Uh, when we live our life, day-to-day life, we from the morning to the evening, we are going through many feelings. All the feelings are dependent on the six senses. So feelings can come to us um, from all the six senses, so one among them. So feelings enters to us. Now this person observes that. Next, Buddha says, Bahiddhava Vedanasu Vedananupassi Viharati. That means externally. That person meditates observing an aspect of feeling. You see here there is a comma, so which means that this person externally. Just the same way this person observed that person's own feelings, this person observes externally to meditate. Observing external feelings. External feeling here means feeling of another person. Another person could go through the same feelings that we are going through. Just the same way that we have three feelings, same way the other person has those three feelings. But how do we know that? Externally, how do you live mindfully? Buddha says that you get to know that person too has the dependent feelings, which means that person too go through the feelings that is arising by the conditions. Let's say that I'm facing to kind of another person's, let's say someone say bad on us, like bad things to us. So we have that unpleasant feeling. Just the same way, when we speak to another person harsh way, other person feels that feeling also. When that person hears another person speaking harshly or bad way to another, that person too feels that unpleasant feeling. So our feeling was dependent on the contact, just the same way the other person's feelings dependent on the contact. This understanding about ourselves and the others brings more peace, more clarity, more mindful approach, more mindful understanding. Normally, let's say we have one of our loved one. Let's say it can be our one of our child or someone. So we might have a like feelings because of this person, and also that person also has feelings. That loved one can also have the feelings the same way that we feel. Then we know that what brings that person's that pain, if there is an unpleasant feeling, suffering, we know that. We get to know that. And also we get to know why that person feels happiness. It's also because of the conditions. Condition here means the contact. We go through some conditions to feel. Other people, other persons, other like loved ones also go through the conditions that bring them feelings. So so we won't be deluded. We won't be confused about other people, and we won't be confused about ourselves, how we have pleasant, unpleasant, and neutral. So we get a better understanding about the feelings. But how do we know the other person's feelings? Actually, that is when they express themselves. There has to be an expressions. As we studied, it is not solely dependent on the one's own senses, but there is an interaction, like the context that brings them feelings. So we get to know wherever there are feelings, those are dependent on the conditions. And here, after that, Buddha says, with a joint term, Buddha says, Ajjatta Bahiddhava Vedanasu Vedananupassi Viharati. Ajjatta Bahiddha means both internally, both externally. It can be ourselves and it can be others. Both has these feelings that is arising, dependent on the conditions. So this is a very great way to know about others and to know about ourselves, to know about the problems that we face in our day-to-day life, to know about sufferings that we go through. Buddha says, like the feelings arises, now we observe them within us and within others, but these feelings are conditioned, that we learned. With respect to feelings, about the feelings, there is no confusion in this person. Why? Because this person knows these feelings are dependent. There are underlying conditions. Let's say one of our loved one has an anxiety. We know why this person has an anxiety, because that this person is having the contact, the mental contact. This person is experiencing that mental content, that because of that reason this person has that anxiety. So we won't confuse normally. Otherwise we won't we could have a confusion without knowing that conditionality that is working within others and within ourselves. We can easily go for confusion that I'm doing this pain, the other person is responsible for this pain, or the other people are responsible for these pains. Actually, the pain is because of the conditions. With respect to feelings, they meditate observing the liability to originate, liability to vanish, and to originate and vanish. So this person thinks there is these feelings as long as conditions last. When the conditions ended, the feelings disappears. Origination and vanishing means actually the knowing about the impermanence. Whether we feel it or the others feel it, no one can have a permanent feeling. This impermanence is not to be seen in a specific moment, it is to be seen always. Normally we expect that the impermanence should be permanent. Like we perceive the permanence on the impermanence, but the impermanence is constant changing. There is no stopping, there is constant change. So this way, ourselves has the constant changing feelings, others too has the constant changing of feelings. To clarify this concept furthermore, I would like to go to another teaching, another sutta teaching, extraction from a teaching. Let's try our best to study this within next 15 minutes. We have only 15 minutes. Let's see if we can go through that. Thinking about that you have understanding about the feelings according to our studies we did few weeks ago. I'm going to skip some of the things. If you are new, you can go to those teachings once more and you can study that. So, then in the morning, the Venerable Sariputta, dressed and taking bowl and robe, entered Rajagaha for alms. There was one monk in the Buddhist order. He was said to be the most powerful in the wisdom after the Buddha. So he was now going to the alms round to collect the meal. Then it occurred to him, it is still too early to walk for alms in Rajagaha. It's so early. Let me go to the park of the wanderers of other sects. So not only there was Buddhists, but there were other sects who are doing the same practices, like the austerities. Like they too had some vision about their lives, that there are these practices that we need to follow. Then the Venerable Sariputta went to the park of the wanderers of the other sects. He exchanged greetings with those wanderers, and when they had concluded their greetings and cordial talk, he sat down to one side. The wanderers then said to him, "Friend Sariputta, some ascetics and Brahmins," which means their practitioners in their teachings. Proponents of karma, which means that they believed about the action. Karma means the action. Maintain that suffering is created by oneself. So some of the practitioners at that time in India that who had their practices, they believed that suffering, which means here especially the unpleasant feeling, suffering is created by oneself. So that we create our own suffering. That's what some people understood, some practitioners understood. Some ascetics and Brahmins, proponents of karma, don't scare to this word. Most important here is actually this concept. In this time, let's go to the concept. Maintain that suffering is created by another. Normally, we think our suffering, our unpleasant feeling is because of another person. Some ascetics and Brahmins, proponents of karma, which means they believed about the action, because they are compared to this, there are many other sects who don't have a belief of the action. Maintain that suffering is created by both oneself and by another, which means the unpleasant feeling that I'm having right now is because of me and also because of another person. Some ascetics and Brahmins, proponents of karma, maintain that suffering has arisen fortuitously, which means by chance, by neither by being created neither by oneself nor by another. So that means they rejected that complete authority of another person when it comes to the unpleasant feeling. They believed it's because of the by chance, automatic, it's fortuitously, it just arises. Our unpleasant feelings are just arising. There were four. So now, friends, Sariputta, what does the ascetic Gautama, which means the Sariputta Bhante's teacher, here which means the Supreme Buddha, his clan name was Gautama. So they addressed the Buddha as ascetic. What does the ascetic Gautama say about this? What does he teach? Which means actually the teachings at that time that people discussed were based on these four beliefs, four views, four philosophies. What does your teacher teach? How should we answer if we are to state what has been said by the ascetic Gautama and not misrepresent him? This is amazing. This is wonderful. So they says, even they are having a different faith, they says, we don't like to misrepresent the Buddha. with what is contradictory to the fact. And how should we explain in accordance with Dhamma so that no reasonable consequence of our assertion would give ground for criticism? So they didn't like to criticize the other person's faith, other person's belief. Now, this Bhante says, friends, the Blessed One has said that suffering is dependently arisen. Supreme Buddha taught, whatever the unpleasant feeling, or in a more sense, like a deeper unpleasant feeling, could be suffering, stress, sorrow. So this suffering is dependently arisen. That is based on the conditions. This Bhante says, dependent on what? Dependent on contact. That unpleasant feeling, Buddha taught, that is dependent on a contact. Now he says, if one were to speak thus, one would be stating what has been said by the Blessed One. It is right to say that way, and would not misrepresent. Now, I will skip that 2 sentences because it's repeating the same thing. Now he says, therein, friends, in the case of those ascetics and Brahmins, proponents of karma who hold such a view, who maintain that suffering is created by oneself, which means that people normally say that I'm making my pain, I'm having my suffering, but it is not understood in the teachings that we create our suffering. There is no way that we want to create our own pain. Who maintain that suffering is created by oneself, he says, that is conditioned by contact. Even though that we say that we suffer because of I am creating my own suffering, it is actually, if you mindfully observe it, you can easily find there are conditions that brought you that suffering. Someone is blaming. I can say that I'm creating this suffering because that person criticizes, blames me. But actually, the truth here, according to the Buddha's perspective, is because of coming together 3 things. The content. That is what brings this unpleasant feeling. Also, in the case of those ascetics and Brahmins, proponents of karma, who maintain that suffering is created by another, that too is conditioned by a contact. If I were to say that I have unpleasant feeling because of someone else, a demon or any other being, any other individual in the hidden world is making me that this suffering, there is no way that I can touch that suffering without the contact. If a person were to say that I suffer because of him, I suffer because of her, I suffer because of that person, there is no way that we can have unpleasant feeling without the contact, which means as an ultimate conclusion, as an ultimate understanding, it is because of the conditions. It is because of the contact. Contact is the condition. Also, in the case of those ascetics and Brahmins, proponents of karma, who maintain that suffering is created by both by oneself and by another, that too is conditioned by contact. If I were to say that, if I were to claim that I have this unpleasant feeling because we both made that, we both, our both link connected this kind of this unpleasant feeling, that too is because of the conditions. That's the condition by contact. Also, in the case of those ascetics and Brahmins, proponents of karma, who maintain that suffering has arisen fortuitously, which means if another person would claim if there is a philosophy or a view that some people claim that you feels because of it is by chance. There is no reason why you feel. There is no one put you into this unpleasant feeling. But even if someone were to say that, this Bhante says, being created neither by oneself nor by another, that's the same concept by chance. That too is conditioned by content. Even if a person were to say that I feel because of the just falling these feelings on me, that's also because of a condition. Why? Because if you investigate mindfully, you can catch, oh, these things actually led me to feel. So this is the opportunity that we can easily let go of pain if we look this way. Because for every problem, there will be a solution if we see it like a condition. Because it eases the pain inside. Therein, friends, in the case of those ascetics and Brahmins, proponents of karma, who maintain that suffering is created by oneself, the same first view, it is impossible that they will experience anything without contact, which means we can't experience any feeling without a contact. As long as the food is on the table, we won't feel it. But when we create the contact, we feel it. So there is no way that we can feel without making the contact. Our life is all about creating contacts. Our happiness is almost always dependent on making the contacts. Also, in the case of those ascetics and Brahmins, proponent of karma, maintain that suffering is created by another, it is impossible that they will experience anything without a contact. Also, in the case of those ascetics and Brahmins, who proponents of karma, who maintain that suffering is created by both by oneself and by another, it is impossible that they will experience anything without a contact. If me and another person want to feel something, normally what we do is that we make that contact. Contact is what then ultimately which governs our experiences, that governs our feelings. So the factor that is responsible to bringing us pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral is not a person, is not a self, is not an individual, but it is the conditions that brings the feelings. It's impossible without the contact as the condition that we feel. Also, in the case of those ascetics and Brahmins, proponents of karma, who maintain that suffering has arisen by chance fortuitously, it is impossible that they will experience anything without contact. So this is the mindful way of, especially the insight, the vipassana way of seeing the feelings just as it is. Then when we go to the Satipatthana Sutta, we can see that this perfectly match to the instructions that Buddha gives in the Satipatthana Sutta. He says that when person internally feels it, externally feels it, both internally, externally feels it, that's because of conditions. So we get to know that these feelings are based on the conditions. The conditions as condition means the contact. Then contact ceases, feeling ceases. If there is no contact, there is no feeling. Yes, so that's how the Buddha taught in the Satipatthana Sutta to know about these feelings. Okay, friends. Hope that made you some sense about the teaching. try to read the sutta once more. You can find this teaching. And I didn't want to talk more deeply about that sutta that I talked, but here goes the ending of our feelings, Satipaṭṭhāna. From next week, we start to study the mindfulness based on the mind. Okay? Thank you so much for joining me in the discussion. By the power of this merit that we accumulated by listening to the Dhamma, may every one of us has a great opportunity to attain the perfect bliss of mind, Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you so much for joining with me. May you be well and happy.